After 12 years, my boss hired a 23 years to assist me. Within a month she had my parking spot, my clients and my office. When? Asked. He smiled and said, she reminds me of you. Before you got comfortable, said nothing. 2 weeks later my boss ran in shaking. He'd just discovered I'd been. The girl was already in my chair when I got back from lunch. Not near it. Not leaning against the desk beside it. In it. Swiveled toward my monitor, one hand on my keyboard, scrolling through something with the casual confidence of someone who'd been told the space was hers. I stopped in the doorway of my own office. Can I help you? She turned. 23, maybe 24. Dark hair pulled back tight, blazer that still had the creases from the hanger, and a smile that said she'd been expecting me to walk in exactly like this, confused, off balance, already on defense in my own territory. Oh my God, you must be Renee. She stood, but slowly. Like she was doing me a favor. I've heard so much about you. Have you? Marcus talks about you all the time. The Renee method, he calls it. She laughed. I'm Chloe. The new assistant. She extended her hand. I didn't take it. Assistants sit in the bullpen, I said. 3rd row. There should be a desk with your name on it. Oh, I know. Marcus said I could use your office while you were at lunch. Something about getting familiar with the client files. She gestured at my screen like it belonged to her. You have a really interesting system, very vintage. I'd been managing accounts at Hartwell Financial for 12 years. Built the client services division from 3 people and a shared phone line to a 40-person operation that handled 800 high-net-worth portfolios. My system wasn't vintage. My system was the reason Marcus Wheeler had a corner office and a German sedan. But I didn't say any of that. I walked to my desk, pulled my chair back, she'd adjusted the height, of course, and sat down without looking at her. The bullpen, I said. 3rd row. She smiled again. That same smile. Of course. Sorry about that. I just get so eager, you know? Marcus said that's one of the things he likes about me. That I remind him of you. She paused at the door. Before you got comfortable. She left. I stared at my screen. She'd been in my email. The thing about Marcus Wheeler was that he'd always been transparent about who he was. Some bosses hide their worst impulses behind HR language and plausible deniability. Marcus just said things out loud, in meetings, in front of witnesses, and then acted surprised when you remembered them. She's hungry, he told me the week before, when he'd first introduced Chloe at the Monday staff meeting. I want you to take her under your wing, Renee. Show her how it's done. I'd said sure, because what else do you say? But I'd been here long enough to recognize what was happening. Marcus didn't hire assistants. He hired replacements. He just didn't tell you that's what they were until you were already training them to do your job better than you could do it while also doing your job. I'd seen it happen to 3 division heads before me. Watched them mentor their own executioners with helpful smiles and detailed process documents. Watched Marcus shake their hands at the farewell party and say things like she just outgrew us and we'll miss her energy. The pattern was always the same. New hire gets assigned to shadow you. New hire asks lots of questions. New hire starts attending meetings you didn't know about. New hire builds a relationship with the boss. New hire becomes indispensable. You become expensive. The difference, this time, was that I knew what I was looking at from day one. And I had no intention of playing along. The parking spot happened 3 days later. Hartwell Financial occupied the top 4 floors of the Whitmore building, but the real status symbol wasn't office size or window count, it was the underground garage. Street parking downtown was a nightmare. The public lot 2 blocks away cost $40 a day, and the building's garage only had 60 spaces for a building full of hundreds of workers. Seniority determined who got one. I'd been parking in spot 27 for 9 years. That Wednesday morning, I pulled into the garage at 7:40 like I always did and found a white Volkswagen Jetta sitting in my space. New plates. Dealer sticker still in the back window. I circled once, thinking maybe I'd miscounted. I hadn't. I parked on the street 2 blocks away, fed the meter, and walked into the building already composing the email to facilities management in my head. But when I got upstairs, I found Chloe waiting by my office door. Oh good, you're here. She was holding 2 coffees. She extended one toward me. I got you a latte. Marcus said you liked lattes. I didn't take the coffee. That's your car in spot 27? Her smile flickered, but only for a second. Oh my God, I meant to ask you about that. Marcus said there was a mix-up with facilities and my name got put on your spot by accident. He said you wouldn't mind since you always come in early anyway and the street parking is basically empty before 8. Marcus said. He said to talk to him if it was a problem. But honestly? She lowered her voice like she was sharing a secret. I think he just forgot to tell you. You know how he is. I did know how he was. I walked past her into my office and picked up my phone. Marcus. My office, now. I hung up before he could answer. Chloe was still standing in the doorway, holding both coffees. Is everything? You can go. She went. Marcus showed up 4 minutes later, which was fast for him. Usually he liked to make people wait. The fact that he came quickly told me everything I needed to know about how this conversation was supposed to go. He closed the door behind him. Renee. I was just about to come find you. Were you? There's been some confusion about the parking situation, and I want to. There's no confusion. I stayed behind my desk. Didn't offer him a seat. I've had spot 27 for 9 years. My name is on the assignment list. Facilities confirmed it this morning. Right. But here's the thing. He sat anyway, uninvited, settling into the chair across from me like we were about to have a friendly chat. Chloe's commuting from Westbrook. That's 40 minutes each way on a good day. And she's been doing great work, you've seen it, right? And I just thought, temporarily, while she's getting settled. You gave away my parking spot without asking me. I'm asking you now. No. You're telling me after the fact and calling it a question. He blinked. Marcus always blinked when someone pushed back. It was like his software needed a moment to recalibrate. Renee, I think you're making this into something bigger than it needs to be. And I think you're testing boundaries to see what I'll let slide. Silence. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You know what I love about you. You've always been direct. It's one of your best qualities. He stood. I'll talk to facilities. We'll get it sorted. He left. That afternoon, I got an email from facilities management. Hi Renee, per Marcus Wheeler's request, parking spot 27 has been reassigned to Chloe Brennan effective immediately. You've been assigned spot 58, second level, east corner. Please update your vehicle registration with building management, thanks. Spot 58 was in the overflow section. No lighting. No security camera. A 15-minute walk from the elevator. I didn't respond to the email. The clients came next. I managed 32 accounts personally. Not the biggest portfolios, those went to the senior advisors with the golf handicaps and the country club memberships, but the loyal ones. The ones who'd been with me for a decade. The ones who sent Christmas cards addressed to me by name, not to the firm. I knew their kids' names. Their anniversary dates. Which ones were nervous about market volatility and which ones wanted aggressive growth and didn't care about the risk. Margaret Chen, 74, widow, lived on the income from her late husband's pension and a portfolio I'd built to generate steady dividends with minimal tax exposure. David and Ruth Okonkwo, both teachers, who'd started with me when their combined savings was $12,000 and now had enough to retire comfortably at 60. Sam Weiss, 81, who called me every Friday at 2 p.m. just to talk, because his wife had died and his kids lived across the country and sometimes you just needed to hear a familiar voice. These weren't clients to me. They were relationships. Trust I'd earned over years. Chloe started sitting in on my client calls 2 weeks after the parking spot. Marcus framed it as training. She needs to see how you work, he said. The Renee method, remember? I want her to learn from the best. So I let her listen. What choice did I have? She took notes, asked smart questions afterward, complimented my report building techniques, said things like I never would have thought to phrase it that way and you make it look so easy. I watched her watch me. And I waited. The call from Margaret Chen came 3 weeks later. Renee, dear, I'm a little confused about something. What's going on, Margaret? Well, I got a call yesterday from a young woman at your office. Chloe, I think she said. Very nice girl. She wanted to schedule a portfolio review, which is fine, but she said she'd be handling my account going forward because you were being promoted. I kept my voice steady. What exactly did she say? She said you were moving into a management role and wouldn't have time for individual clients anymore. She said it was a good thing, that I should be happy for you. But I wanted to check, because you didn't mention anything about it, and we've been working together for so long. Margaret, can I call you back in 10 minutes? Of course, dear. I hung up. Then I pulled up my client contact log. Chloe had called 6 of my clients in the past week. All without my knowledge. All with the same story. I was being promoted. She was taking over. This was a good thing. She'd already scheduled follow-up meetings with 3 of them. I walked to Marcus's office. His door was open. Chloe was sitting across from him, and they were laughing about something. I knocked on the frame. Am I being promoted? Marcus's smile froze. Excuse me? Because Chloe has been calling my clients and telling them I'm being promoted and she's taking over their accounts. I just want to make sure I'm not the last to know about my own career advancement. Chloe's expression didn't change. If anything, she looked curious. like she was watching a lab experiment. Renee. Marcus stood. Let's talk about this privately. No, I think here is fine. Since Chloe's already involved. He glanced at her. Some signal passed between them that I wasn't supposed to see. Chloe, give us a minute. She stood, smoothing her skirt. Of course. Renee, I'm so sorry if there was any miscommunication. I thought Marcus had already talked to you. She walked past me. Her perfume was expensive. Marcus closed the door. Renee, sit down. I'll stand. He sighed. Look. I've been meaning to talk to you about your role going forward. The truth is, client services has gotten too big for one person to manage. We need to start transitioning some of your accounts to junior staff so you can focus on the bigger picture. My accounts. The firm's accounts. I let that sit between us. The firm's accounts, I repeated. The ones I built. The relationships I developed. The clients who call me by name and specifically request me. Renee, I know you've done great work. What are you offering me instead? What? You're taking my clients. What are you giving me in return? A raise? A title? More equity? He shifted his weight. We can talk about adjustments to your compensation package once the transition is complete. No. I'm not giving up my clients based on a vague promise that we'll talk about adjustments later. You want to restructure my role, put it in writing. Title, salary, responsibilities, timeline. Then we can discuss it. His jaw tightened. I'd known Marcus for 12 years. I'd never seen him look at me the way he was looking at me now. Renee, I'm trying to work with you here. Are you? I brought Chloe in because I thought you could use the help. You've been carrying a heavy load for years. I thought you'd appreciate having someone to share the burden. You brought Chloe in to replace me. And you're doing it by inches so I don't notice until it's already done. Silence. I think you're being paranoid, he said finally. And I think you should remember who built this division. I left his office. That night, I drove home and sat in my car in the garage for 20 minutes, thinking. I'd been loyal to Hartwell Financial for 12 years. Loyal to Marcus, even when he didn't deserve it. I'd turned down 2 job offers in that time, one from a competitor, one from a client who tried to poach me for her family office, because I believed in what we were building. Because I thought I was building it too. But Marcus didn't see it that way. To him, I was an employee. A resource. Something to be optimized and eventually replaced when a newer, cheaper, hungrier model came along. I thought about all the things I'd learned in 12 years. All the systems I'd built. All the relationships I'd cultivated, not just with clients, but with vendors, with regulators, with the compliance team, with the IT department, with the junior analysts who came to me with questions because they were too scared to ask Marcus. I thought about what I knew. And I thought about what I could prove. The next morning, I didn't go to the office. I went to see a lawyer. The thing about working somewhere for 12 years is that you see things. You hear things. You file things away in the back of your mind without really thinking about why, because at the time they seem like isolated incidents, someone cutting corners, someone fudging numbers, someone having a meeting that should have been documented but wasn't. But isolated incidents add up. And I had a very good memory. The lawyer's name was Patricia Eulerin. She worked out of a small office near the courthouse and specialized in employment law and whistleblower cases. I'd found her name through the State Bar Association and liked that she didn't have a website full of testimonials and smiling stock photos. I told her everything. Not about Chloe, that was personal, and personal wasn't what I was there for. I told her about the client fee arrangements that Marcus had restructured in 2019, the ones that technically complied with disclosure requirements but buried the most important information in footnotes that no one read. I told her about the quarterly reports that showed unrealized gains as if they were actual returns, the language carefully chosen to be technically accurate while being functionally misleading. I told her about the client referral program that paid existing clients to bring in new business, which was fine, except that Marcus had been classifying those payments as consulting fees to avoid the regulatory reporting requirements. I told her about the 3 compliance warnings we'd received from the State Financial Authority over the past 4 years, all of which Marcus had handled personally and none of which had ever been shared with the full management team. I told her about the documentation I had, emails I'd been CC'd on, meeting notes I'd taken, files I'd saved copies of because something about them hadn't felt right, even if I couldn't articulate why at the time. Patricia listened. When I was finished, she leaned back in her chair. Why now? Because I'm about to be pushed out. And I want to make sure that when I leave on my terms. This isn't about revenge? No. This is about the fact that for 12 years, I've been telling myself that Marcus was just aggressive, not dishonest. That the gray areas were judgment calls, not fraud. That I could keep my head down and do good work and eventually the things that bothered me would resolve themselves. I paused. I was wrong. And I'm done pretending otherwise. Patricia nodded slowly. There's a whistleblower protection program for financial services employees who report securities violations, she said. If what you're telling me can be substantiated, and it sounds like it can, you'd be entitled to legal protection from retaliation. And potentially a percentage of any penalties recovered. How long does something like this take? Months. Sometimes years. These cases are complex. The regulators move slowly. And in the meantime? In the meantime, you keep working. You document everything. And you don't say a word to anyone at that firm about what we're doing. I thought about Chloe, sitting in my chair. Scrolling through my files. Calling my clients. That won't be a problem. I went back to work the next day like nothing had happened. Chloe had moved into the empty office across from mine. The one that had been used for storage until last month. Now it had a desk, a chair, a computer, and a nameplate on the door. Chloe Brennan, Assistant Director of Client Services. Assistant Director. I hadn't been told about that either. She smiled when she saw me walk past. Good morning, Renee. Morning. I went into my office, closed the door, and started working. For the next 2 weeks, I was the perfect employee. I answered emails promptly. I attended meetings without complaint. I trained Chloe on the client management system, explaining every feature in meticulous detail. And I documented everything. Every conversation. Every decision. Every time Marcus redirected a client or reassigned a task or changed a procedure without following proper protocol. I saved copies to a personal drive. I printed hard copies and filed them in a safe deposit box I'd rented at a bank across town. I watched Chloe make mistakes, because she did make mistakes, despite her confidence, and I said nothing. I let her send client communications with typos. I let her schedule meetings at inconvenient times. I let her use the wrong forms and overlook compliance requirements. I wasn't sabotaging her. I was just not helping. If Marcus wanted her to be my replacement, she could figure it out on her own. The office happened 4 weeks in. I came in on a Monday morning and found Chloe's things in my space. Not her things, my things had been moved. My family photos, my plants, my collection of client thank you notes that I'd kept pinned to my bulletin board for years. All of it packed into cardboard boxes stacked in the hallway. Chloe was sitting at my desk. My actual desk. What is this? She looked up like she was surprised to see me. Oh. Marcus didn't tell you? He's restructuring the floor plan. Something about workflow optimization. She gestured around the room. This is going to be the new client services hub. Isn't it great? So much natural light. I stood in the doorway of what had been my office for 8 years. Where am I supposed to sit? There's a workstation in the bullpen. 3rd row, I think. Marcus said you wouldn't need a private office anymore since most of your client accounts are transitioning to the team. She smiled. I didn't say anything for a long moment. Chloe, I said finally, can I give you some advice? Of course. When you take someone's job, you should at least have the decency to pretend you're not enjoying it. Her smile didn't waver. I don't know what you mean. I'm just trying to do my job. She paused. Marcus said you might be resistant to change. He said you've been here a long time and it's natural to feel protective. But he also said you'd come around eventually. Another pause. He believes in you, Renee. We both do. I walked to the boxes in the hallway. Found the one with my family photos. Picked it up. I'm taking a personal day, I said. I didn't wait for a response. I drove straight to Patricia's office. It's accelerating, I told her. They've taken my office, my clients, my parking spot. They're pushing me out faster than I expected. Patricia pulled up something on her computer. I have some news on that front. I spoke with the state financial authority this morning. They're interested in what you have. How interested? Interested enough to open a preliminary investigation. Interested enough that they've assigned a case officer. She looked at me. Interested enough that things are going to start moving. What do I do? For now? Nothing. Keep going to work. Keep documenting. Let them think their plan is working. And then? And then, when the time is right, we make our move. I nodded. One more thing, Patricia said. They may try to fire you before we're ready. If they do, don't sign anything. Don't agree to any severance package. Don't attend any meetings without a witness. Call me immediately. You think they will? I think Marcus Wheeler has been getting away with things for a long time. And when people like that start feeling pressure, they make desperate decisions. I went back to work the next day. I sat at the workstation in the bullpen, 3rd row, between a 25-year-old analyst who wore headphones all day and an empty desk that had belonged to someone who'd quit 6 months ago and never been replaced. I did my job. I answered the emails I was still CC'd on. I handled the client calls that hadn't been transferred yet. I attended meetings where Chloe presented my ideas as her own and Marcus nodded along like he was seeing them for the first time. I smiled when it was expected. I kept my head down when it wasn't. And I waited. 3 weeks later, Marcus called an all-hands meeting. It was unusual. Marcus preferred smaller groups, carefully curated. An all-hands meant something big was happening, a reorganization, a new client, a crisis. I sat in the back row. Marcus stood at the front of the conference room, Chloe beside him like a campaign running mate. "I'll keep this brief," he said. "As you all know, Hartwell Financial has been through some changes lately. We're growing. We're evolving. And that means our team has to evolve too." He paused for effect. Effective immediately, Chloe Brennan is being promoted to Director of Client Services. A murmur went through the room. People glanced at me. "Chloe has shown incredible initiative and talent in her short time here," Marcus continued. "She represents the future of this firm, young, hungry, innovative. I'm confident she'll take our client relationships to the next level." Chloe stepped forward. "Thank you, Marcus. And thank you to everyone who supported me these past few weeks. I know change is hard, but I promise you, we're going to do great things together." She looked directly at me. I smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. After the meeting, Marcus stopped me in the hallway. "Renee, got a minute?" I followed him to his office. Chloe was already there, sitting in one of the chairs like she owned it. Marcus closed the door. "I wanted to talk to you about your role going forward," he said. "With Chloe taking over client services, we need to find the right position for you. Something that uses your experience and institutional knowledge without..." He trailed off. "Without what?" I asked. "Without putting you in a position where you're competing with the new direction we're taking." "You're asking me to step down." "I'm asking you to consider a transition. Something in operations, maybe. Or compliance. We could create a special advisor role, something with a fancy title that lets you." "Marcus." He stopped. "I've worked here for 12 years. I built this division. And you want to offer me a consolation prize so I don't make trouble while you hand everything I've created to someone who's been here for 6 weeks." Chloe shifted in her chair. "Renee, I don't think that's fair. I wasn't talking to you." Silence. Marcus's face hardened. "Renee, I'm trying to be generous here. Most people in your situation wouldn't get this kind of consideration." "Is that a threat?" "It's an observation." I looked at him for a long moment. "I'll need to think about it. Don't take too long." I left. That night, I called Patricia. "They're going to fire me." "When?" "Soon. Marcus gave me an ultimatum today. Accept a demotion or leave." "Did you sign anything?" "No, good, don't." She was quiet for a moment. "The investigation has advanced. The state authority is ready to move to formal proceedings. If you can get through the next 2 weeks without being terminated, you'll have full whistleblower protection." "And if they fire me before then?" "Then we have options, but they're messier." "What do you need from me?" "One more document. The 2022 client fee disclosures, the ones that were supposed to be filed with the annual report. Do you have access to the original versions, before they were edited?" I thought about it. "The archived server. If Marcus hasn't purged it. Can you get them without raising suspicion?" "I can try." I went into the office early the next morning. 5:30 a.m., before anyone else would be there. The archived server was in the basement, in a room that technically required keycard access but whose door had been propped open with a folding chair for as long as I could remember. IT security wasn't exactly a priority at Hartwell Financial. I found the 2022 files. The originals were still there, the versions that showed what the fee disclosures had actually said before Marcus's edits had made them regulatory compliant. The versions that showed just how much clients had been charged without proper notification. I copied them to a flash drive. Then I went upstairs to my workstation and started my day like nothing had happened. 3 days later, everything changed. I was at my desk, my bullpen desk, my third-row desk, my exile desk, when I heard the commotion. Raised voices from the executive suite. A door slamming. Footsteps, fast and heavy, coming down the hall. Marcus appeared in the bullpen doorway. He was pale. His eyes found me across the room. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he walked toward me, weaving between desks, his expression somewhere between fury and disbelief. "My office, now." I followed him. When we got there, Chloe was already inside, looking younger and smaller than I'd ever seen her. Her confidence was gone. She was holding her phone like it was a lifeline. Marcus closed the door. "What did you do?" I didn't answer. "The State Financial Authority called this morning. They're opening a formal investigation into client fee disclosures. They mentioned specific documents, specific dates, specific transactions. He stepped closer. Those are internal files. Files that only a handful of people would have access to. Files that someone would have had to deliberately copy and share. I kept my expression neutral. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't. His voice cracked. Don't lie to me, Renee. Not now. I know it was you. I know. You don't know anything. I trusted you. No, you didn't. You trusted that I would keep quiet. That I would accept whatever scraps you threw at me and be grateful. That I would watch you break the rules and say nothing because I was afraid of losing my job. I paused. But here's the thing, Marcus. I already lost my job. The moment you decided to replace me with someone who reminded you of me before I got comfortable, it was over. You just hadn't told me yet. His face twisted. This will destroy you. When people find out what you did. What I did was report financial irregularities to the appropriate regulatory authority. That's not destruction. That's compliance. Chloe's phone buzzed. She looked at it, then at Marcus. There are people downstairs, she said. In the lobby. They're asking for you. Marcus went pale. I stood. I should let you handle this. I walked toward the door. Renee. I turned. Marcus looked smaller than I'd ever seen him, diminished. Like the air had gone out of him. Why? I considered the question. Because for 12 years, I told myself that loyalty meant looking the other way. That being a team player meant accepting things I knew were wrong. That if I just worked hard enough and stayed quiet long enough, I'd be rewarded. I shook my head. But that's not how it works, is it? You don't reward loyalty. You exploit it. And then, when someone newer and hungrier comes along, you throw the loyal ones away. I opened the door. I'm not angry, Marcus. I'm just done pretending. The investigators were very thorough. They took documents. They conducted interviews. They asked questions that Marcus's lawyers tried very hard not to answer. Chloe resigned within a week. I heard she'd found a position at a smaller firm across town. Good for her. She'd learned a valuable lesson about hitching her wagon to the wrong star. Marcus was placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation. The firm brought in outside management to handle day-to-day operations. The new manager, a quiet woman named Helen who'd been doing turnaround work for distressed financial firms for 20 years, called me into her office on her second day. I understand you're the one who built the client services division. I am. And I understand you were instrumental in bringing certain irregularities to the attention of the authorities. I did what I thought was right. She nodded. The firm is going to need people with integrity going forward. People who understand the business and care about doing things correctly. She slid a folder across the desk. This is a proposal for a new role. Director of Compliance and Client Relations. It would report directly to me. The salary is 40% higher than your current compensation, and you'd have full authority over how client accounts are managed. I looked at the folder. I'll need to think about it. Take your time. I took the job. Not because I forgave what had happened. Not because I wanted to prove anything. Not because I had something to prove. I took it because for 12 years, I'd built something. And I wasn't going to let Marcus Wheeler's greed and Chloe Brennan's ambition be the end of that story. The investigation concluded 8 months later. Marcus was fined, permanently barred from the financial services industry, and narrowly avoided criminal charges by cooperating with regulators. The firm paid a substantial penalty and agreed to enhanced oversight for the next 5 years. I got my office back. Not the old one, that was given to Helen when she became permanent managing director. But a new one, on the same floor, with the same view. I got my parking spot back too. Building management reassigned it without being asked. And I got a letter. It arrived 3 months after everything was settled, forwarded through Patricia's office. No return address. Just my name on the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper with 2 words. You won. I didn't recognize the handwriting. It didn't matter. I folded the letter, put it in my desk drawer, and got back to work. There were clients to call. Relationships to maintain. A division to run. The right way, this time.